mighty 8th Air Force was created right here in Georgia, at Hunter Airfield in Savannah. A part of the 8th Air Force was the 384th Bombardment Group. The 384th Bombardment Group was eventually assigned to Air Base, I believe it was 106, at a small village about 70 miles north of London called Grafton Underwood. And several young men went, and many gave their lives in the defense of freedom. Amongst the men serving there was a young man from Ludwig, Georgia named Jerry McCullough. And he later became my father. And so that's my connection to Grafton Underwood. Let's fast forward. Well, the base there was a very thriving base, big airfield, and an adjacent administrative part where all the barracks and all the administrative buildings were. It was part of what was called the Balton Estate. It had been requisitioned by the government to build the base as the war was starting. The base remained open and active to some extent for about 10 years following the war. And then it was decommissioned, the land was returned to the Balton Estate, and it was allowed to just grow back up through the years. Somewhere, and I don't know exactly when, but our speaker will tell us about this, after that, there's a group of very dedicated people in Grafton Underwood, Geddington, Kevin, and the other villages and towns and cities that surround us here, who were deeply appreciative, even all these years afterwards, of the sacrifices made by these young Yanks. And they have been striving to preserve the memory not only of their deeds, but they're also trying to preserve some of the physical assets that are left. And let's fast forward from that to 2019. Following my father's death in 2000, I started searching on the internet and finding different organizations that had something to do with the 384th Bombardment Group and getting historical information. Coming on up closer to 2019, 2018, I found that there were even more groups, now more information was available. I made contact with them, and eventually in 2019, myself and Pam went over to London for the express purpose of making a pilgrimage to Grafton Underwood. I was put in touch through a couple of people through one of these websites, and ended up with our speaker as my host for the day. He took me out, Pam and me, out, and I figured somebody'd pick us up, take us out, show us where the air base was, put us back on the train, we'd go back to London. An hour and a half. Our speaker spent 7 hours with us that day, taking us everywhere, answering questions, filling in information, and asking us questions about my father's service and what he did. And we developed a relationship from that and have maintained that to this day through various social media, text messages, and an occasional phone call. This group is also preserving the original operations building. Now they've got permission to do that. And they're in the process of turning it into a museum to honor the memory of the 384th. Fast forward to this August. I'm looking on Facebook one evening, and I see a picture of our speaker here, and he is giving a presentation to the Rotary Club in Kettering, England. I jotted off a line to him and said, "Hey, Neil, how about coming and being a speaker at my Rotary Club?" And here he is. He says, "Odd you should ask. I'm going to be in the States in October. And in fact, I'm coming to Georgia." And he came to Georgia to visit Miss Rose McNair, sitting over here, whose father also served in the 384th. And her connection to Neil and Bridget is similar to my story. That's how she made him through, making a pilgrimage over there. And he came down to visit her. She lives in Stapleton, which is, about an hour and a half drive? 2 hours? And so they've come down today. He has a presentation for us. His lovely wife, Bridget, is here beside me, Bridget Howarth, and I would like for you to join me in welcoming my English friend, Mr. Neill Howarth.